Hello and welcome back to day 3. I really hope you've been enjoying the course so far. We've worked quite a lot on abs and neutral spine. We've done that on the support of the mat lying down on our backs. We're going to bring this onto hands and knees today so that our spine and the trunk of our body will be supported in midair against gravity. So we're going to have to require a little bit more stabilisation, a little bit more strength, but I'm going to talk you through. It's all very manageable. We'll begin with a bit of a warm-up. We're going to just roll through the shoulders. So starting to take shoulders up and back and down. And I think a lot of people tend to get a lot of tension as they lift. Don't feel like you have to go crazy with it and really enjoy the letting go. Okay, it's a really important part of this movement is that letting go. So again, don't force down, but see if you can settle shoulder blades, settle shoulders. Think of that settling sensation, and that becomes a really lovely exercise. If you're more comfortable seated or standing for this, of course, just make yourself comfortable in your home. We're going to move on to some full shoulder and arm circles. So palms will be forwards as we lift and palms will externally rotate as we lower. So palms forwards to lift, external rotation as we lower, and 2 more. Palms forwards to lift, external rotation as we lower, and forwards to lift, external rotation as we lower. Let's go for one more. Let's do one more. Always like one more. Good. And then we're going to take the palms backwards behind the body, leading there with the backs of the hands. Turn the palms in to lower. So palms behind you as you lift, palms turn in as you lower, palms behind you as you lift, palms turn in as we lower. Let's go for another one as we lift, and then palms in as we lower. Lovely. Bringing that onto your hands and knees. And take a widespread finger pad. Okay, so you want big widespread finger pads, and you want to kind of grip with the finger pads. You can create a kind of arch in the fingers, okay, as if you imagine like your toes arch and grip onto the mat a little bit. If you think about your fingers being like the toes of your hands, you're going to grip slightly and arch the fingers slightly. This means that your wrists don't take all of the load, the sole work here. So the fingers and the structure in the hands will help you. Gently start to shift your body weight forwards and backwards. Now this is a warm-up, so we're not overdoing this. We're just going as far as our wrists and our hands are happy to get a wrist stretch and a stretch into the forearms. Lovely. Then we're going to turn the fingertips outwards to the outer edge of the mat and go steady here as you gently rock your weight side to side. Up to you how much weight you want to take into the hands, how much you want to bring back into the knees and the bottom. And again, we're gripping with the finger pads to help us out here. Nothing too crazy. And then we're going to sit back off the hands for a moment and just roll the wrists around. And then roll them the other way. And then roll them again. And roll them the other way one more time. And back onto your hands and knees. We're going to flip one hand over so it comes onto the back, and then just apply some gentle pressure. We are not taking all of our load through it, just so that we get that stretch again in wrist and forearm. Holding for another 3, 2, 1, and change. So taking your time and turning one hand over, and again apply some pressure. Really up to you how much you want to take there, and holding 3, 2, 1, and release. Sitting back off the wrists again, and just give them a shake off. Imagine you've got wet hands and you're trying to shake the water off your fingertips. And let's try and find a perfect all fours position. And I say perfect with a pinch of salt because it depends how you're feeling, how your body's feeling. Also sort of your proprioceptions. So I can give you these techniques, but it's very difficult to see on yourself how this is working. So what I would also recommend, if you've got a long full length mirror somewhere in your house, if you can pull that off the wall and turn it sideways, just lean it against the wall beside you, you will be able to then look into it and get a good side view as to what your spine's doing, what length your spine is in. So I think most common things here, if we're thinking about spine, is that people let their back arch and let their tummy sink, okay? So this is a bit similar to doing our pelvic tilts when we lay on our back. If you let your belly drop and let your spine curve, you can see your lumbar is now out of neutral, your hips are out of neutral. You can also take that the other way, so you can start to tuck your tailbone down and you can find this rounding and hunching in the spine. So I'd like you to go through those pelvic tilts, so tucking and rounding, tucking and rounding. And again, this is just really a recap of what we did lying on our backs, but it feels slightly different. And your neutral should be at that point where you're not rounding, not arching. You want to look for nice kind of length in the spine here, okay? I think if we go for a slightly arched spine, there's a it's very tempting to let go of the abdominal contraction. So in this all fours position, I tend to cue length through your lumbar. So if you think about your tailbone lengthening away towards the wall behind you, and find that length from your crown all the way down your back towards your tailbone, and that's where we want our spine. You can draw in your B-line here. You can focus on contracting the B-line and relax. And again, lengthen lumbar, contract B-line, squeeze your thighs in towards the midline and relax. So again, lengthen lumbar, draw B-line, squeeze your inner thighs, or kind of almost try and roll your legs inwards a little bit, and release. And again, lengthen tailbone, engage B-line, and always kind of roll your knees in a little bit to squeeze the inner thighs, and relax. So we're looking for all of this pelvic support here. Elongate and lengthen your tailbone, engage your B-line, and squeezing your knees in towards each other, and gently relax. Wonderful. Come off the wrists for a little bit of a breather. Again, roll or shake the wrists off. So that's your kind of lower back neutral position, hopefully quite well acquainted. I want to think about your shoulders as well, because there's a tendency to, in any position really, in all of our daily lives, to lift your shoulders up and hunch up, okay? And it's just become a bit of a natural reaction for some people. So finding your neutral lower back again. Let's lengthen and elongate through that tailbone. Let's engage through our B-line. Now, shoulder health. We are going to think about drawing our shoulder blades down towards our bottom. And that does a few things. It draws the shoulder blades down and engages the back. It also draws your shoulders down away from your ears, so it gives your neck a little bit more length and space. So think about drawing down through shoulder blades, set shoulders down away from ears, and find length along the back of your neck. Now push gently through your finger pads so that you're not sinking into your shoulder girdle there. So push gently through your finger pads, and that should be your shoulders in a pretty good position. Okay, so let's just come off that and we'll go back into it again, because I think sometimes it would be really helpful to repeat that and make sure that you can enter that correctly each time. So back onto hands and knees. We're thinking lumbo-pelvic relationship first, so lengthen that tailbone, engage that core, maybe a gentle squeezing in through the knees and the inner thighs. Draw the shoulder blades down the back, set the shoulders down away from the ears, and find the length at the back of the neck, just gazing probably ahead of your fingertips somewhere on the mat there. That's it. And taking a breath or two, gently pushing through the finger pads, just a slight pressure there to help lift you out of your shoulders. And come back. Wonderful. So we're going to start moving from that position. We'll begin with a float of the arm, which sounds so simple. Okay, I remember learning these when I was learning, thinking, well, there's nothing to it, is there? You're just chucking an arm out. It is a little bit more nuanced than that. So we are going to ensure that we don't just chuck an arm up, because as we just chuck an arm up, you'll find the shoulder hikes or hoiks up towards the ear, okay? And that's really what we want to avoid. So checking in with your lumbopelvic region, core engaged, shoulder blades drawing down, shoulders set away from ears, and we've got that length at the back of the neck. Now take your fingertips and just stroke towards the front of your mat without your shoulder rising to your ear. So try and keep your shoulder down. And that might mean that you're actually not reaching as far as you know you can. And that's fine. We don't need to go for full reach and stretch. We're just trying to keep shoulders nice and stable. Good. And then draw that line back in, stroke your hand back in. Try on the other side, so shoulder blades down, shoulders set, start to stroke towards the front edge of your mat, you're not going to reach for it, and then gently stroke back in. So alternating left and right, have a go with this. Keep shoulder blades drawing down, shoulders set down away from ears, neck nice and long. Gentle pressure through your finger pads so that we're staying nice and strong away from the mat. Keeping that length through the lumbar. A little bit of beeline there if you can remember to do all of this at once. That's it. And then once you've done a few strokes along your mat, you're then going to start to stroke forwards and then just allow your fingertips to float forwards from there. And then gently back to the mat, stroke back in. So you're stroking the mat, floating away, back to the mat and stroking back in. Lovely. So try to take that stroke and float and then reverse. Stroke and float and reverse. So we're drawing shoulder blades down still. Neck elongating, the shoulders are set down away from the ears. And we're keeping that gentle engagement through the core there, the beeline drawing in to keep the lumbopelvic region nice and neutral. So last couple of movements here, and there's a lot to think about. Keeping that length from your crown all the way down the spine to the tailbone, last movement. And then we're just going to sit back off the wrists for a moment and again give those chants for a roll. If you need to pause the video at all and give them a really good shake or just maybe like a 30-second break. We're going to get back onto hands and knees to do same idea as the arms but using the legs. So this is going to destabilize us a little bit more by taking a leg away. So onto your hands and knees please. Let's check in with lumbopelvic region, lengthening through the lumbar, engaging through the beeline and drawing some strength in through the inner legs. So drawing shoulder blades down, shoulders set down away from ears, gentle pressure through the finger pads. Let's start to stroke our toe towards the back end of the mat and then gently stroke the toe back in. So with the toe you're going to stroke it away, stroke it back in. So we're not elevating just yet, we're stroking. And as we stroke we're keeping our shoulders set down away from our ears, so we're still trying to keep this lovely positioning. Lovely, just gently stroking out and in. Now what we're able to achieve here, hopefully, is keeping your tailbone long, pointing towards the wall behind you, rather than the pelvis tilting or twisting. And I'm just exaggerating that now, if you want to have a little look. That is the pelvis twisting. You can see my pubic bone and my hips are now turning to the side of the mat. You actually want to just bring the hips nice and level like this, so that you can keep that tailbone long instead of pelvic twist. Okay, so keep going with a few of those gentle strokes with the legs. Shoulders set down, neck long. That's it, keeping that beeline engaged. Because we're keeping that spine in neutral, that lumbar in neutral, that pelvis in neutral. If we twist a hip or dip a hip, what we would get would be rotation of the pelvis and rotation in the low back. We want to keep it long and keep it strong. Let's start to float the foot off the mat next. So stroke, squeeze glute and elevate. Long leg, straight knee. Gently bring that back in. So again, stroke, squeeze glute, elevate, straight leg, strong long knee, back in. Good, so taking those movements, keeping that beeline engaged, we are looking for that lovely length through the leg and that lovely neutral lumbar. So as you squeeze and lift the leg, we're trying to avoid the twisting at the pelvis. And that's it, so keep concentrating on elongating your spine and keeping your hips nice and level. Let's bring that back down and just come to have a little look off the camera whilst, look at the video whilst you just roll out through your wrists. I'm just going to talk to you a little bit of a tip about keeping the hips level, and it's a really simple visual. Is to imagine there's some laser beams shooting forwards out of your hips, okay? So that when I'm then on my hands and knees, my laser beams are shooting straight down towards the mat there, okay? And then as I take my leg extension, I'm keeping these laser beams trained down towards the mat. If you get any twist, you'll see those laser beams are going to shoot off to the side. So that's a really nice visual of laser beams coming out of hips. So come back onto hands and knees and just try that with me for sort of another 4 or so repetitions. So find your lumbo-pelvic health first of all by lengthening your lumbar, lengthening your tailbone, engaging your core. Set your shoulder blades down your back, your shoulders away from your ears, and lengthen your neck. Stroke your toe towards the back of your mat. Keep your laser beams pointing to the mat as you lift and extend the leg. And gently return. And other side, so start to stroke your toe back along the mat, laser beams pointing toward the mat as you lift and elevate. And gently bringing the knee back in. And once more on each side. Let's try and keep laser beams trained down, facing our mat there. That's it. And one more time. And this is just trying to avoid any temptation to twist the pelvis. Lovely. And bringing it back in. And again, take that breather, come back off the wrists. Do you give them a roll or do you give those a shake? Okay, so that is all fours, kind of tick, little intro done. We're going to move on to kneeling planks and planks. So I think kneeling plank is the more accessible of the two because it's a little bit less intense. Planks do involve quite a lot of sort of what we call intra-abdominal pressure. So it can be quite difficult to sort of breathe, it can be quite tiring, you can kind of hold and get a little bit stressed in them. So we're going to start with the kneeling planks, it's easier, and we will build up to the full plank today as well. So kneeling plank kind of begins on hands and knees, okay? And then we're just going to take our hands forwards, maybe one hand span, and then maybe another half hand span, okay? That is a rough idea of how long you want your hands to be. We can adjust this when we get there. You're then going to bring your finger pads nice and wide, grip with the finger pads, and bring your shoulders to stack above your wrists. You can see the hips and the bottom have come forwards a little bit there. Common mistakes we see here is people relaxing too much and just letting the bum sag, and you get compression in the lower vertebra there, okay? So if you've done that, we're going to come back with the bum above the knees, and we're going to come nice and slowly forwards, gripping with the finger pads, and stop before you feel your hips sag, okay? Now, quick tip for pelvic position. Imagine you're wearing your favourite pair of jeans and you're going to put your hands in the back pockets of your jeans and just push your back pockets down. That gives you a really nice gentle tuck and a squeeze in the bum. Okay, and then bring it back. Take that back to child's pose, just take some weight off the wrists and take a little bit of a stretch in the back. So let's find that kneeling plank again. So grip through your finger pads and then gently bring your shoulders forwards above the wrist. Push your hands down in the back pockets of your jeans, and that's your pelvis in position. Now, shoulder health, very similar to all fours. We're going to draw our shoulder blades down. We're going to almost dive through, bring our chest through our shoulder girdle so that we've got these shoulder blades down, the chest comes through, collarbones open into a nice smile, and the back of your neck lengthens. So we're staring at the front edge of our mat. We've got the crown lengthening forwards away from the tailbone, which is lengthening backwards. And then come off that kneeling plank back to your child's pose. Really nice. One more breath. And access your kneeling plank. So weight, grip through your finger pads. Start to bring your hips forwards, but don't let your lower back compress. Don't let the hips sag. Start to push your hands down in the back pockets of your favourite jeans. You should feel your core engaged there. Draw your shoulder blades down your back. Almost dive your chest through your shoulders to open the collarbones. Find the length at the neck. And then also, little tip here if you're struggling with the core engagement, is to draw your pubic bone. Imagine it's coming up towards your nose. Ooh, and that really gives you that extra little core contraction, doesn't it? And then taking it back off the wrists again, back to your child's pose. Relax your head and your neck there and take a moment off the wrists. If you need to roll the wrists again, now's a really good time. And really well done on finding your kneeling plank. I'm hoping that those little tips of pelvis and shoulders are making these feel much stronger and much safer. Sometimes it can feel harder, okay, if you're in the right alignment, the correct alignment, like with the shoulders. It can feel like it actually requires a lot more strength through the shoulders, and that's a good thing, okay, because quite often our shoulders are out of position and we're not always engaging them correctly, so it might be that they're just slightly underworked, undertrained at the moment, but it's something that will gain strength as you practice. So let's take that to our kneeling plank again, checking in with your hands in your pockets of your jeans, shoulder blades down, collarbones open, and neck nice and long, shoulders set down away from ears. Curl your back toes underneath you, and then keeping your jeans tucked down, we're going to lift our left knee and push our left heel towards the back of the mat. Engage your core, your beeline even more, because you're going to lift your right knee and push through both heels backwards, push your crown forwards, and then gently take your knees back down and rest. Well done. 2 deep breaths. And forwards again to your kneeling plank. Let's get the hands in the jeans. Let's get the shoulder blades drawing down, the shoulders set down away from the ears. So we've done that little dive through our shoulder girdle. Toes curl under. Let's go right knee lift. Push through the right heel, long in the leg. And then engaging your core a little bit more as you lift your left knee, keeping the hands tucked down in the jeans, drawing the pubic bone towards the nose, and that might be plenty. We might be wanting to bring the knees down and bring it back to your kneeling plank, and then back through to your child's pose. So I'm going to take us through that kneeling plank to full plank, kneeling plank to full plank for a little bit of a round, and then let's get on with it. So kneeling plank, shoulders, and then curl the toes. Lovely, left knee up, right knee up, right knee down, left knee down, and again, right knee up, left knee up, left knee down, right knee down, and again, left up, right up, right down, left down, last time, right up, left down, right down, and come back. Really, really good job. Give your shoulders a nice roll out there. So that is our plank position and our kneeling plank position. We're also going to have a little look at an elbow variation, which means you don't have to be on long arms with the wrists bent quite so much. It brings us into either a forearm, kind of parallel forearms, so they'll be on the mat like that, or a bit of a sort of triangle structure on the mat like that. I like these, okay, because I think they do take some pressure out the wrists, but they do encourage this rounding and hunching of shoulders if we're not careful. So your drawing down of your shoulder blades is going to be really important in this one. So let's try that in kneeling plank first of all. I prefer the triangle, but you might prefer parallel. It's kind of a matter of preference there. So I create that little holding my fist and hands onto the mat. Again, just going to shuffle so that I've got my hips low but not sinking and sagging. So lifted that bottom away from the mat slightly, but I'm tucking my hands down in the back pockets of my jeans. I can already feel I've got my shoulders quite far forwards here. It's quite a natural reaction. So again, I'm going to draw my shoulder blades down, see if I can dive forwards through the shoulder girdle and create that length at the back of the neck there. So this is where we get that nice drawing down of shoulders. And this brings your back strength in to help your shoulders. So best way out of this, I think, is actually just to gently relax down to the mat and then take it back to your child's pose if you want a break. So if you don't like that elbow variation, you're welcome to keep practicing on your long arms, okay, using the wrists and the finger pads to help you. Those of you who want to join me again in the kneeling plank with the forearm variation, the elbow variation, we're going to come back down. Good. So take your time to push the hands down the back pockets of the jeans, and then quite important that we address the shoulders here, isn't it? So draw the shoulder blades down, dive your chest forwards through your shoulder girdle, and lengthen the back of the neck. Breathing there. Drawing the pubic bone towards the nose to help with that core contraction. And then maybe just gently lowering the body to the floor because we're not that far away from it. And coming back off the wrists again. Again, child's pose if you want it. We're going to take one more of those in the kneeling plank with the elbow variation, or the parallel arms of course, and then we'll have a go at the full plank afterwards. So finding your tripod or your parallel forearms, pelvic position, and then shoulder blades down, collarbones wide, back of neck nice and long. Curling the toes underneath you. Let's see if we can lift our right knee, squeezing through our hips and our bottom as we lift the left knee. That's quite tough. Tuck the, push the hands down in the back pockets of the jeans there and draw the pubic bone up towards the nose. Gently take each knee down to the mat, and again you can just rest down to the floor there. Nice work. So coming back up towards a comfortable seated position, and just give your wrists a little bit of a shake out. So do feel free to come back, revisit these. They are quite a tough position because there is sort of an element of, yes, you do need strength, but your shoulder strength will build, and I'd rather you practice those with the shoulders in the right alignment, because then you're going to avoid injuring yourself. Okay, a lot of people do these wrong and incorrectly for sort of 4 or 5 years, and then wonder why their shoulders don't improve. They're still full of aches and pains. So it's really worth getting the technique down on this nice and early doors. Let's finish with a bit of a cool down. This is a really nice one. We're going to just do a threading the needle variation, and this is one you can do in your day-to-day. It starts on hands and knees, and it's going to be taking one arm up and around the ceiling for a little bit of a lift and a twist, and then you're going to thread the needle. This is where we take the arm through this little hole here and take a twist for the spine. So we're going to inhale as we lift and twist, and we're going to exhale as we thread through and under. Inhale as we lift and twist. Exhale as we thread through and under. Inhale as we lift and twist, looking for that thoracic rotation. Exhale, thread through and under. One more time, we're going to take this into a full stretch. So inhale on the lift and twist. Exhale as you thread through and under. Can you bend your supporting arm, bring your shoulder and the side of your head toward the mat there, bottom still stacked above knees, and breathe. So this bottom shoulder that's on the mat should be feeling a really good stretch in the outer and rear of the shoulder, and obviously we're getting a really good rotation and back stretch there. Pushing back to hands and knees, let's change arms. So we're going to lift and twist on the inhale, exhale, thread through and under, lift and twist on the inhale, exhale, thread through and under, lift and twist in, exhale, thread through, inhale, lift and twist, exhale, thread through. One more, we're going to hold this last one as our stretch. So we've got our inhale to twist, our exhale to thread through, and we're going to soften that supporting arm as we bring our shoulder and our head down towards the mat. And breathe. Really good job. Stretching into that bottom shoulder, finding that gorgeous twist. And back to hands and knees, and back to a comfortable seated position. So that completes our day 3 session. I hope you've really enjoyed it and really found some very valuable information there. If you are loving this series, please find that subscribe button down there. Give me a follow, really help me out. And tomorrow we are looking forward to doing prone, which is lying on our tummies, and seated exercises, which sounds a bit easy, lying on our tummies and doing some seated exercises, but I'll let you be the judge of that when I see you on the next session of the course.